Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, hashtag ODPH podcast. I am your host, Ken M. Sitting across from me this week is the one, the only, Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Folks, we have a lot to discuss. Let's waste no more time. You know the drill. Hit us up on that hashtag on social media, hashtag ODPH. Join in the conversation because, hey, we want to hear from you. Now, the biggest story in entertainment this week, bar none, the latest Avengers Endgame trailer.
The surprise Endgame trailer. I mean, we all figured there'd be another one, but we didn't expect it to drop now.
We weren't sure when. We've heard rumblings of it. I mean, obviously, since the first one came out and broke the internet for half a day when that dropped. This one gave us a little more information. Mm-hmm. Maybe not. This could be some false scenes. We don't know, but we are going to be talking spoilers. So if you haven't seen it and you're trying to avoid it, we're giving you a fair warning. We're going to start talking about it in 3, 2, 1. Pad, what did you think?
Is it time for the movie yet? Because, my God, that trailer's amazing. Just everything from the music to the little, synopsis of your major Avenger characters you get at the beginning, from Iron Man 1, Thor 1, Cap 1, to, scenes from what we're going to see in Endgame to the epic conclusion of them walking in the quantum suits. Everything about this is just incredible.
Absolutely. The way the Russos are doing their trailers, they're giving you enough without telling you anything. Mm-hmm. And I love this.
Yeah, like you're seeing a fair amount, but we still don't know anything about the story other than they're trying to fix what they screwed up in the last one.
Yeah,
which is to be expected.
Yeah, this makes complete sense that they're obviously trying to figure out, okay, we lost to Thanos. We lost in the Infinity War. This is now the end of the Infinity Saga as the phases of Marvel are now being named.
Let's say the first 3.
Yes. So this is obviously coming in with a lot of high expectations, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
This has been building up since Marvel has been doing their films under Marvel Studios. This is going to be the end-all, be-all, benchmark-setting movie for how you end epic stories. Mm-hmm. And going in with this, like Pat was talking about, they open up with a flashback sequence, the black and white retelling of Iron Man 1.
Black and white with hints of red in there. Like anything that was red, you see as red, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, that was something that I'm not sure where this is all going to come into place.
Yeah.
If this is actually going to be shown in the movie, that's what I'm saying. That we might have some false.
Because I get the feeling that was deliberately done. I don't know the reasoning, and I have no speculation or guesses why it was done. But I can fairly certainly say that was deliberately done. That okay, we're going to show scenes from previous movies, but anything red is going to be shown.
Yeah, this isn't anything that is like with the Defenders and how every Defender had their own color scheme.
Right.
When they show, like, Jessica Jones had purple lighting, mm-hmm. Luke Cage had yellow, Iron Fist had green, Daredevil had red. This isn't like that. This is just, it was black and white with the shades of red mixed in. Now, what does that entail? We don't know.
No.
The only thing we know is obviously seeing this, these are the images that stick out. Mm-hmm. And as we see, there's a flashback sequence of Iron Man 1 where you hear Tony Stark talking to, we're assuming, Pepper, and just kind of doing his farewell goodbye as,
yep.
as he's in the Guardian ship that's stranded in space from where he's left at the end of Infinity War. And then they show Captain America 1's footage where you see how young Steve Rogers is growing into his role and growing up and just how this is all tying into where he is now and obviously dealing with the effects of the Infinity War. He's at a stage where he's trying to find the inner strength to go on.
Right, and he says at one point in the trailer, I'm telling people they need to move on, but we can't.
Right. He is now the focal member, and rightfully so. He's the chairman of the Avengers.
Right.
He is the public face. He is the franchise.
I'll say, to their knowledge, at least at the start of the movie, he is the leader because to their knowledge, they don't know Tony's alive. To them, Tony's missing and presumed dead in the snap because, well, if we don't know where you are and there's no evidence to show where you are, you're dead.
Yeah.
So they're going under the assumption, well, Tony's dead, so you're leader here.
And as he's trying to project the message to the rest of the world, as they're finding out more people are missing, and nobody really has an idea what's going on other than the Avengers, who have to try calming an already paranoid public.
Right, without really telling them what happened, because you can imagine the kind of things that would do to the public at large's psyche if they go, oh, yeah, hey, we screwed up and, all your family members died because of us.
Yeah, because obviously if you go through the lineage of the Avenger movies, from the incident in New York in Avengers 1 and how that carried through the rest of the Avengers movies and Captain America Civil War, the ramifications of what you did in New York and then what you did in Sokovia with Ultron obviously plays an effect on the world.
I'll say, and you look at other instances in comic book, TV show, movie, whatever you want to look at. I'm thinking specifically of the Justice League animated series, where there was the episode where the Watchtower's cannon got hijacked and shot into the earth. The world's governments didn't take too kindly to that, so that, history tells us with, tellings of comic stories on TV and in movies, if the main team that is the focal point of your story screws up in some way, it typically doesn't go over well.
Right. So they're trying to walk that fine line of telling everybody what's going on and handling it themselves and keeping it internally, but keeping that, public persona of everything will be okay. So as they're going on, we do see another flashback sequence with Thor. And this is retelling of Thor 1, where you see him talking with Odin, and then it flashes to present time where all of the heroes that are in the Avengers Trinity, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, that's these flashbacks. They are the cornerstone of the Avengers. So as we see, this is having the most effect on them per se.
Right.
Because they're the ones that originated this. They're the ones that are the focal members of the Avengers. Like I said, they're the Trinity. They're the cornerstones. So this is having the deepest effect on them, or at least from what we're getting is the movie is going to really examine those three characters as they're moving forward with the movie.
Right.
And then we do see finally a present time showing of Hawkeye with a female character that is causing a lot of debate on the internet of who it is.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a present time shot. I would say it's because this is my guess and this is my speculation. That is in the past asterisk while Infinity War was going on.
Right. Well, I'm saying in comparison to the flashback sequences.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. I mean, we see this character and, she's holding a bow and arrow and he's teaching her how to shoot or kind of mentoring her how to shoot. And she does fairly well, and he's all happy, and he kind of does like a fist shake, handshake, whatever it is.
Yeah, this is where the debate is coming online because they're hearing a lot of speculation that this is Kate Bishop, who assumes the role of Hawkeye in the Young Avengers comic series. And obviously, if you go through the Marvel history of recent time, that she is now a character in the MCU. I don't believe this is her, though.
No.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say, as of right now, I don't think it's her.
Right.
I think it's whoever Hawkeye's family is at the time.
Yeah.
That's his daughter. Now, that's not to say that down the road that character will become Hawkeye.
Right, yeah.
They might not cast Kate Bishop into the MCU movies.
Right.
Because how they're setting this up, and you can really, if you really want to speculate, and I'm going to throw this out there and just hit us up on the hashtag ODPH. Do you think they're going to start pulling these young characters into the future, per se, and you have Scott Lang's daughter, who could possibly become Structure down the road?
Sure.
You have Hawkeye's daughter, as I'm going to assume she is, become Hawkeye down the road. And will this, in theory, lead to Young Avengers, which deals with time travel?
All right.
At certain aspects.
Yeah. I mean, maybe not a movie, but I can see it being a Disney Plus series.
Okay.
I can see it being one of those things that, because prior to Marvel really taking control of the TV production like they are going to, if they are not already, it's kind of been separate, where it's, two hands on the same body. Now it's going to be one hand, one body. I think this is something where they can introduce, they don't necessarily need to do a movie for every character they introduce. They can introduce a character in the movie and then, hey, you saw this person in insert movie here. Catch them out this fall on Disney Plus in the series, whatever. I think they can spin it off into a Disney Plus series.
I think so too. I think it would make more sense to do it because I don't know how Young Avengers would go as a full-length feature film.
Yeah.
I could see it being more in the same vein of Runaways, which is on Hulu, which I think is done very well. So if they want to do that aspect involving Young Avengers, and if this is the road they want to do, okay, maybe.
Right.
I could see that possibly down the road.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not buying into the whole we're going to do Young Avengers.
No, I mean, not on big screen, maybe on Disney Plus, but I mean, getting back to who the person shooting the arrow is, I'm saying it's his daughter.
I am too.
From the family, and I'm thinking that scene is because we know in Infinity War he's on house arrest doing his own thing. Well, if he's on house arrest, he's with his family, and if he's showing his daughter, teaching his daughter the tricks of the trade, okay, that makes sense. I'm thinking that when we see that scene in the movie, maybe towards the beginning, maybe towards the middle third of it or whatever it is, and then right after she shoots that arrow and he does hey, good job, kid, she gets
snapped.
She gets snapped right after, and because anytime you see Hawkeye after that shot in the trailer, he looks pissed.
Yes, and actually the next scene in the trailer is him in the rain, as we're assuming, and he's obviously done something. He's now in his Ronin gear, and you see Black Widow find him and grab his hand, and you get the sense of, okay, we need you back, and I understand what's happened because it's happened to us too.
He's in his Ronin gear and his Ronin haircut, which the internet totally loved. And I saw one fan fun theory online. There's probably no truth to this at all, but I saw it and I loved it. The running theory somebody came up with that why his hair is the way it is in the trailer is because he was in the middle of getting a haircut and halfway through his barber got snapped by Thanos.
That's incredible.
Thus getting him stuck with that haircut.
I don't care how it's done, but if that's the way it's going to be, so be it.
I love it.
I'm just more excited we're going to see Ronin on the big screen.
Yes.
And as we see going forward with the trailer, we see I'm going to call it a snapback.
Sure.
Because you see the black and white footage again of everybody that was in Wakanda who was snapped away when Thanos did the devastation.
And if I'm not mistaken, Thor's monologuing there, doing a voiceover for that, saying, I watched all these people die.
Yeah, so it's affecting him more so than... I don't want to say everybody else, but you see that usually he's not the one that is really doing the reflections.
Well, I think this is definitely affecting him more than anyone else because you think back to Infinity War where at the start of it he didn't have Mjolnir and he was caught in the middle of space basically on Death's doorbed where he happened to bump into the Guardians. And then he goes off and he makes Stormbreaker, almost killing himself in the process, deliberately going to build Stormbreaker to beat Thanos. He didn't build it because, oh, hey, I need a weapon. No, he goes, I'm building this to beat Thanos. He built it, showed up, wrecked house, and failed.
Yeah, because he didn't go for the head.
This is true.
And this is now haunting him because obviously he's seeing the ramifications. So he's I think, taken more of a personal responsibility for what's happened.
He's definitely taken more of a responsibility because, like you said, if he would have went for the head and got him, none of it would have happened.
Right. So where they go from here, we now see Scott Lang in the street, and he's looking at missing posters that are on a telephone pole.
And he has no clue what's going on.
Right, and we don't know exactly how many other characters are affected that were in Ant-Man and the Wasp. We know from the end scene of Ant-Man and the Wasp who was snapped at that point, but there could be other characters.
This is true.
So he's really trying to piece together what's going on, and then you see a shot of a Quinjet. At least I'm going to say it's a Quinjet.
No.
Flying over
over the bridge. Yeah,
over the bridge.
That's a Quinjet.
Yes. And you see Black Widow's on there with Hawkeye, and you really kind of see where characters are kind of now getting mixed in.
See, that's deceptive because I've looked at that shot a couple times. The shot of Hawkeye and Black Widow in that vehicle is not the Quinjet.
Okay.
It's actually the inside of the Guardians ship.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen people analyze the shot because a lot of people think, oh, they're in the Quinjet. No, if you look at a shot from Infinity War where they're in the Guardian ship, and then you look at that one, it's very deceptive. They're not in the Quinjet when Hawkeye and Widow are staring at each other. They're actually in the Guardian ship.
Okay. I stand corrected because I thought it was Quinjet.
No, the shot going over the bridge is the Quinjet.
Yeah.
But then the shot of the two of them inside of a vehicle is not the Quinjet. It's the Guardian ship.
That's interesting. We'll have to hit us up on hashtag ODPH. What's your thoughts on what that ship is? Is it the Quinjet? Is it the Guardian ship? We want to know. But getting back to the trailer, though, we are now seeing other characters involved. We're seeing Rocket standing on War Machine's shoulder, which is...
That's all sorts of awesome.
Where can you go from there? I mean, honestly, I'm not that I wasn't already excited about the movie, but just seeing those two team up and just... The bullets will go flying in that one.
Yeah, oh, God, yeah.
Rest assured. And then you see Nebula in a fight scene where she is about ready to go ballistic on somebody.
I mean, she's got one emotion, and it's wreck house.
Right. And obviously, with everything that's gone on in her past, you know that this is obviously taking her toll too. Where just with Thanos involved and just everything that he's done to her, that this is now a personal thing. So where she is siding with the Avengers now,
right,
is really telling because as you see near the end of the trailer, you see the Avengers in white suits.
Now,
Pad, Your theory on this?
They're the quantum suits. My theory for the movie, and this is totally theory, this isn't based off of anything I know. I think at some point in the movie, they're going to try to go take on Thanos. And, it's going to be, making the same, stupidity, making the same mistake twice, not going to work. I think they're going to come back, and that at that point, Scott Lang will have made it out of the quantum realm. He'll figure out what's going on, and he'll go and we know what the extended exposure to the quantum realm does to a person. You go watch Ant-Man and the Wasp. Mm-hmm. His extended exposure something will go on there, and then they're going to jump into the quantum realm to, I think, go back in the past to rectify the screw up they made. How they're going to do it, how they're going to pull it off, I have no idea.
Right, because I think they somewhat allude to it if you really stare at the trailer. Because there's a scene where you see Captain America who looks like he's gone through a very bad battle. Mm-hmm. And you see him tightening his shield on his wrist.
Yep.
And then the next shot is Ant-Man running and flipping on a switch. Mm-hmm. Now, my guess, and like I said, this is my unofficial ODPH guess, they went back in time, and now Ant-Man and Captain America are in the battle with Thanos. And Ant-Man is flipping on a switch involving the quantum realm, either activating it or something in that variation. So this is where this is going to get very interesting. Now, I don't know where they're going to go time jumping wise. Right. This could have a lot of different ramifications. Anytime you try doing time travel, it does get a little bit confusing.
A little bit.
It's a
lot of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Right, because obviously when you're trying to deal with different time periods and going back and forth, this is going to be a new side of the Avengers that we haven't really dealt with.
And it's absolutely going to cause some ripple effects for the future, because you can't go back into time and change things without there being some drastic repercussions for it.
Right. But for Marvel, though, they've been pretty good. And I said, this is where Marvel, I think, has a little bit of edge over DC.
Sure.
Because Marvel usually has the 616 timeline. And, obviously when you go back in time and you change things, I want to say the ramifications, are more easily explained.
Sure.
So where this goes in, it's obviously going to have changes no matter what. Because if you stop Thanos, and then whatever your result is with the Infinity Gauntlet, after that, I mean, that's where the story is really going to unfold instead of this next stage or whatever the phase is going to be.
Right.
So this is where it's going to get very interesting about it. And I'm almost wondering, too, and I don't know exactly if they have the rights, is this where we might see a possible introduction of Kang the Conqueror?
I don't know.
I'm going to say maybe. Maybe we might see something involving him. Because anytime you deal with time travel in the Avengers, he's one of the biggest names to come up.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who he is, definitely go do a web search, and you can definitely find out the history. He's one of the most iconic Avengers villains throughout history. So going in with that, the final shot, we obviously see the Avengers logo come up, and then there's a really cool playoff of Thor and Captain Marvel.
Yep.
Where Thor summons his hammer and Captain Marvel just kind of smirks at him.
She looks to the side where he summons Stormbreaker. Her hair moves, and she's kind of just staring at it, and you can see her slowly start to smirk, and he just kind of looks at her and goes, I like this one.
Yeah, and they ended it very well. Overall, I was thoroughly impressed with this.
Yes.
And what we know that we've heard is the trailer is only showing the first 20 minutes of the film.
That's what I've heard too.
So what I'm saying with this is, if this isn't the first 20 minutes, and let's say they throw in bonus scenes,
sure,
just to throw the internet off, which is brilliant, I am completely okay with this.
Well, they're possibly throwing stuff in to throw us off the scent. Let's not forget, every trailer for Infinity War had the shot of them all running in the forest with Hulk and Hulkbuster, and that was never in the movie.
Right. So it's very interesting that they're doing this, and I think it's great. I don't struggle with this at all.
No.
This has caused such an internet buzz amongst fans of trying to theorize, okay, what's going on and how is this going to be? Because this is going to be different than how I think the Infinity Gauntlet ends, if you've ever read the book.
Yeah.
This is going to have a different take on it because obviously there's certain characters that are not involved.
Right.
And even though Disney and Fox deal is officially done, those said characters are not going to be involved.
No X-Men, no Fantastic Four, no Silver Surfer, no Doctor Doom, no Magneto, no Brotherhood. Am I missing anybody?
No Adam Warlock.
Yeah.
Now, even though, and we'll get to a little later in the show about Guardians of the Galaxy, you will not see Adam Warlock in this film.
Nope.
So, obviously, it's going to be a very different take than the comic, which I like, and I think it's going to be good. And obviously, with the movie being 3 hours long, which is going to be worthwhile because, obviously, if you're ending the epic that you've been building for 10 years now, you have to end it in a huge way.
Oh, God, yeah. And they're even setting that up because as we record, they officially released the synopsis for the film, which reads, quote, "The grave course of events set in motion by Thanos that wiped out half the universe and fractured the Avengers' ranks compels the remaining Avengers to take one final stand in Marvel Studios' grand conclusion to 22 films, Avengers Endgame," close quote.
Enough said. I mean, honestly, where do you go from here? Pat, final thoughts on the trailer.
I just want the movie to be here already. I am all sorts of excited. I am excited to see where they go, what it sets up, the bonus scenes, who lives, who dies, the awesome moments, and I'm calling it now. We're going to get an Avengers Assemble in this movie.
I have to agree with you. This is the end of an era, so to speak, and how they're going to end this, I expect nothing short of an epic film. Marvel Studios has set the benchmark for superhero films. I expect them to fully end on a huge note. Wherever they go from here for the next phase, whatever that's going to be, obviously with the new characters they're going to be integrating into the MCU in a couple years, is going to really set the benchmark going forward. So they're going to end on a high note with Avengers Endgame. Tickets are going to go on sale soon, so keep your eyes out for that. And let us know what you think about that trailer. Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Jimmy Gazdick from Crimson Brethren and Floodlands, and you're listening to ODPH.
Coming back for the second segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we got to talk some Walking Dead.
Uh-huh.
Now, this week's episode had to be one of the best ones they've done in a long time.
My skin is still crawling. I'm not going to lie.
Yes, it was one that put the fear back in The Walking Dead in certain aspects, and it had such a great horror element. That's one thing, that they have, I don't want to say they've gone away from, but the drama has been more focused on, like, survivors versus survivors. And they really have kind of steered away just from, like, how far detached people have gone.
Right.
This episode definitely brought it back.
I'll say, yeah, brought it back to reality, and whoops, there went gravity.
Yes, we are going to be talking spoilers, so in 3, 2, 1, Pat, what did you think of the episode?
My skin is still crawling. The whole Children of the Corn theme that they went for this episode was not what I expected at all, and it was frightening to me, but in a entertaining way that, like, there were children in that universe that were so willing and okay with going to that level where, yeah, we're going to brand a person.
Yeah, this is where the story of how Daryl and Michonne got their scars it finally came from. Because if you've been following since they came back from the mid-season break and when Rick was quote-unquote killed off,
right,
you now see that Daryl and Michonne have scars on their back. And we're not really sure why. We're not really sure what happened at the time. I thought it had something to do with the Whisperers, and I was proved wrong. We now find out what that story is.
I'm not going to lie. I kind of wish it would have been the Whisperers because it wouldn't have been as skin crawling.
It wouldn't have been, but it definitely served its purpose. And And as we see, Michonne starts off, and she's trying to find, or she returns to the bridge where Rick was presumed killed off.
Right.
She is pregnant at this time. She finds Rick's old gun. Daryl is also searching with her.
Yep.
So they kind of tie it back to this nice flashback sequence of what has been going on, because they did do a time jump since Rick's quote-unquote passing. And as they are going back and forth, you see Daryl returns to camp after the epic battle with Beta.
Yeah.
And Michonne is trying to figure out, okay, what's going on. Lydia's back with them. So obviously Michonne is really...
She's not happy about it.
She's really not happy, and she's really just going like, okay, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
Because I don't understand this. And as we see, they're going back and forth with the flashbacks. And they have a friend of Michonne, Jocelyn, show up.
Yep.
And if you know anything about the character who plays her, it's Rutina Wesley. Wesley, who is on True Blood and Arrow.
Right.
So, and she's a great actress.
I was saying, if I'm not mistaken, the character was actually a roommate, classmates of Michonne's from college.
Yeah, it was somebody that's from Michonne's past. So Michonne, at this point, during the flashback sequence, was all types of happy to see somebody she knew.
She's like fist bumping, hey, what's up, how you doing?
Yeah, and this is the first time that you've really seen Michonne's guard really let down, per se.
Right.
Like, amongst the group now that she's comfortable with, she's definitely, very friendly with, like, with Rick and with Carl and obviously Daryl and company. So this is the first time, though, you've really seen her kind of really just animated about her past.
Yeah.
Because they really haven't touched upon that.
No.
And as we see, there is Jocelyn, and she's explaining about her group that she's with, and they're in this building, and the group from Alexandria is going to investigate and find out what's going on. Because at this point, Jocelyn appears to be in very, very distress of what's going on.
A little bit.
And as they go into the building, what do they find?
A bunch of abandoned kids that look none too happy and are a little malnourished, I'd say, maybe.
Yeah, something's going on that they find these group of kids that Jocelyn apparently is watching over.
Right.
And everybody's kind of going, okay, what's going on here? So
it's like, because even for the post, apocalypse zombie world, even that's a little weird for that world.
Right. And this is where they're jumping back and forth, kind of really, I think, was the only deterrent from the episode, because when they're jumping back and forth, they're also jumping to different characters. Yeah. And at this point, you see Michonne is talking with Lydia and really interrogating her and really find out, okay, what are you doing here?
Right.
And then you also see Judith talking with Daryl about staying, because Daryl is obviously not wanting to be involved in staying with any group. He kind of wants to do his own thing.
Yep.
And this is where it kind of goes back and forth. And this is where they decide, okay, we're going to go to the kingdom, and they leave at night.
Yep.
Which
maybe not the best idea.
Yeah, I'm kind of struggling with this, especially with the group that is established that nothing good happens when you travel at night.
Nope.
You have walkers, and now you have the Whisperers who look like walkers.
Yeah.
And they're quite mad because you took their leader's daughter to your camp.
Yeah, and if there's one thing this world is lacking, and it's street lights so that you can differentiate between walkers and Whisperers.
Yeah, so this is where, I don't know, not the smartest move that Daryl's done in his history, but hey, it happens.
I mean, on the one hand, it seems kind of rash and not a smart move, but on the other hand, it also makes sense because, you can use the cover at night, you can go in the woods and in the dark and really stay out of the moonlight, whereas if you're in the daylight, you ain't got no cover.
Right. So this is where it made some sense, but I still go back to the fact that Daryl knows what he's doing, and obviously he's really not showing he's afraid of the Whisperers, which is really kind of puzzling because they've already done enough damage to your camp.
Right.
They're going to do more.
Yeah. Well, and in his head, he thinks Beta's taken care of, so he's like, "Oh, I took out their attack dog. They're toothless."
Right. But as we're going to find out later, that is not the case.
Nope.
But where we go with Michonne having the talk with Lydia, and you really know that she's not welcome to having strangers come in the camp.
Right.
After they find the group led by Jocelyn, they bring them into Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, they're gone.
They're gone. The food's gone. The medicine's gone. The supplies are gone. Yeah, it ain't good.
Yeah, and they find out they escaped through their sewer system.
Yep.
And this is where Michonne is obviously trying to figure out, okay, what happened? Like, all these kids are now gone and we got stolen. And she can't really understand what is happening. And during this time, they're kind of going back and forth with Michonne questioning Negan. And this is where they get into a fight about Judith.
Yeah.
Where Negan was not wrong in the points he was making.
No.
And I think Michonne, obviously, it's very hard transitioning to being the leader of the group.
Right.
Obviously, Rick struggled with it. Nobody's easy in this role.
No.
And Negan is saying, obviously Judith is feeling left out, and you're really not paying attention to her.
Well, because the thing of it is their mindset, and they were kind of brought up and raised on, okay, you're going to be a leader, you're going to have to take care of a few minor things, roads and plumbing and this and that. Nobody was ever taught that, like, hey, you're going to have to raise and take care of an entire group of people, all the while literal dead people are around you trying to kill you, and people are like on as far psychopath as you can physically imagine.
Yeah, this is something nobody gets eased into.
No.
And I fully understand it. And Michonne is putting so much pressure on herself.
Yeah.
That you can see it's now taking the toll on her.
Because I think she wants to live up to Rick's legacy.
Right. And obviously so, because with Rick, he always took care of everything. Rick found a way
it might have been messy, and it might have been, a little hairy. But
it was never easy,
no.
But he found a way to at least try.
So he ruffled some feathers, but he got it done.
Right. But in the zombie apocalypse, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
As we're seeing with
There's no easy solution.
Yeah, there's no easy solution. We're seeing with every antagonist that comes by. It's now getting worse as it's going. And as they go back with the flashbacks, because as we talked about earlier, Michonne is not very welcome about having people in her camp.
Right.
She really wants to close off every part of Alexandria she can.
Mm-hmm.
And we're now finding out why, because as we go to the flashback sequence now, Daryl and Michonne are searching for the kids, and this is where they are led into a trap.
Yep.
And Michonne is trying to figure out what is going on, because as she's walking in, she sees Jocelyn with the kids,
mm-hmm.
and then they get captured.
Yep.
And then you hear that as they're tied up, Daryl and Michonne at this point, Jocelyn is breaking down that she's teaching the kids to be quote unquote strong. And just this whole speech that Wesley gives in this, I mean, she did an awesome job this episode. This is where the skin starts crawling a little bit. Because she has these kids brainwashed.
Right.
They're branding Daryl and they're branding Michonne.
They're branding Michonne while she's very pregnant.
Yes. And she's saying, Mark, that you are stronger than them. And
which, I mean, she goes in and you go, oh, I'm making them strong. At first, when I'm watching the scene live, I'm like, oh, this is something tied into the Whispers. They're teaching them to be brought into the Whispers. Come to find out that may or may not be the case. I don't think so. But that's kind of the vibe off of it. And I'm like, all right, Alpha's a little screwed up. I don't think she'd do this.
Right. So this is where it gets all types of crazy. And this is where the skin starts crawling.
Mm-hmm.
Because now Daryl and Michonne get freed after the speech.
Yep.
They now have to fight the kids.
Yeah.
And one of the kids stabs a pregnant Michonne.
Yeah, in the belly.
Yeah. This is where, like I said, it got to be the point of like horror mixed in with just being like just uncomfortable watching this. And it was just so in your face. But obviously, it's playing up to the drama on the show.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's showing the damage that Jocelyn has done with these kids.
Yeah.
That for whatever reason, she's thinking she's teaching them to be strong and to, kill or be killed. This is just where it was just so brutal and in your face that it left that kind of stigma on that. It's just like, this is really happening in the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
And as it goes on, Michonne, who is fully pregnant at this time, is now fighting the kids, and she fights and kills Jocelyn rather.
Yep.
And this is where she has the standoff with the kids, and this is where it just gets as brutally disturbing as it gets.
And I like how the way they filmed that sequence where she was fighting and killing the kids, because she killed the kids and you knew that, but they never showed it because every time she went to go kill one of the kids, they'd cut back and forth between then and present day where she's fighting a zombie horde with Judith. And, she goes to swing her katana on one of the kids, cut to present time, and a zombie's getting cut off. Back to the past and kill a kid, cut to a zombie, back and forth, back and forth. I thought it was just brilliantly planned out that way, that like, okay, what she's doing, but we're not going to show it.
Right, and I thought they handled it very well, obviously, with the subject matter, because it's almost like the same with Episode 3 of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Where Anakin hits the lightsaber when he sees the kids.
Yeah.
And you know what's going to happen. You don't want to see that. And,
no.
And there was no purpose, but they did enough to allude, what was happening. And one does escape, and we don't know if that character is going to come back down the road.
Right.
I think you'll probably see that character at some point. Usually The Walking Dead ties in with loose characters. But as you see, Michonne is fighting to get to Judith, who's fighting a zombie horde herself.
Right. Well, and Judith is holding her own for the time being, and she kind of looks back at Michonne and goes, "Hey, look what I did," kind of thing. And all of a sudden, one reaches up and grabs her in the arm, or in the leg, I should say.
And Michonne obviously saves her from that, and that's the remains of the zombie horde that was attacking.
Yeah.
And they now have a discussion about things, and they're now at a peaceful place. And you can see like where Michonne is explaining, why she is how she is, and Judith is, they're having the heartfelt conversation they need to have.
Yeah.
So where they go from here is the fair.
Mm-hmm.
And they've teased enough because this is where the episode ended.
Yep.
If you've read the comics, you know what's going to happen.
So if you've seen the preview, you know nothing good's going to happen.
Nothing good is going to happen. And where they leave it, as you see Daryl, Carol, Michonne, and another character that I'm blanking on right now, are surrounded by the Whisperers.
Uh-huh.
And
there's a lot of dead bodies around them, too.
Exactly. And this is where as they're going into the season finale, they're going to end on a very dramatic note.
Mm-hmm.
If you know the comic story, you know how the fair goes.
Oh, not well.
Not well at all. But in this scenario, this might be going on as well, that I'm telling you, you might have one of the most high body counts on the Walking Dead season finale that you've had in years.
The highest one that I can remember was when it was the governor a couple years ago, and it was like 30.
Yeah, you might have somewhere around that again. But overall, Pat, final thoughts on the episode.
Love the episode. As much as it made my skin crawl, it was an amazing episode. I like how they kind of got back to this isn't just, person versus person. There are external factors here, and there are a lot of things out here that make you uncomfortable. Cannot wait for the remaining episodes.
Yeah, I thought for the, obviously, crazy story they were going with, they handled it very well. And obviously it explains a lot about what's going on with Michonne. Mm-hmm. And you're really seeing how being the leader is taking the toll, and obviously things have changed since the zombie apocalypse in the most disturbing ways possible.
Mm-hmm.
Where they go from here obviously all roads lead to the fair. Where that goes after that is anybody's guess. But like I said, I'm expecting a massive body count for the end. And if it ends on a strong note, which I think it's going to end, if you've given up on The Walking Dead, it might be a time to jump back on. Because I tell you what, since they've taken Rick off the board, the writing has been stronger, and they're definitely moving a lot faster than you would think. So definitely check it out. Hit us up on that hashtag and let us know, though. Hashtag ODPH. What's your thoughts on this week's Walking Dead? We want to know. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is George Gatton, and you are listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and the deal is finally done.
Yes.
Disney and Fox are now one.
Mm-hmm.
Disney has acquired all the MCU characters, the Fantastic Four and X-Men that were eluded from the original deal.
Yep.
Pad, break it down for us.
Holy moly, this came out of nowhere, although we kind of knew it was coming. A couple days ago, as we record, 20th Century Fox posted on their website that the deal with Disney was done, was finalized, and was going to kick in at 12:02, odd timing, I know, 12:02, on the 20th of March 2019. So here we are on the 20th of March 2019. The deal is done. They're home. Cue up Diddy coming home.
Yeah, as we talked about last week, we knew the deal was close, and obviously this has a lot of ramifications coming forward. I think the biggest one that we've seen thus far is the banner has been redone.
Yes. So
No, go.
So if you go to Disney's website, the URL escapes me at the moment. You can find articles about this. They've updated the banner on their site for their properties. I mean, so you see like Rey from Star Wars is there, Mickey Mouse is there. There's some sporting event photos there because they own ESPN. And they've updated with some Fox characters, mainly the two main characters from the Avatar movies by James Cameron. Shape of Water is on there, and then also Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool is on there, so which leads a lot of people to believe, okay, Ryan Reynolds is probably safe as Deadpool, which everyone kind of figured and assumed, but it's a little bit of confirmation of, all right, don't worry.
Yeah, this one obviously makes the most sense. I couldn't see them trying to recast Deadpool.
Oh, it'd be awful if they tried to. And I don't think they're going to. And Ryan Reynolds, I think, is clearly excited about it because he tweeted out the day of the deal, feels like the first day of pool, and a photo of a school bus where the lettering on the bus where you would see like the school district name is the upper half of Disney. And then I think it's supposed to be him sitting on the bus where he's got his head, kind of against the glass, wearing Mickey Mouse ears like you would get at Disney World, and it's the Deadpool.
Yeah, which obviously if he's on board, that's a great sign for the Deadpool franchise because I can't see them recasting in any type.
No, I mean
fashion.
For that character, it also is the easiest one to bring over without a lot of headache, fancy schmancy writing, where you can literally just have him show up and go, wait, how'd I get here? Because he's already alluded to him in the past, and he already breaks the fourth wall. So you can literally just have him show up and be like, oh, wait, how'd I get here? Oh, well.
Yeah, it makes the most sense. And obviously, with how successful the Deadpool franchise has been, one can imagine what's going to happen now that he's in the Disney/Marvel universe.
Oh, man, all sorts of fun.
Yeah, this could get really crazy, and depending on what direction they want to go with, because we don't know exactly what the future is going to hold yet.
Right.
All we know is the characters are now over. The deal is done.
Mm-hmm.
So now we can start talking about possible castings.
Mm-hmm.
We know that they're not going to be involved in Avengers Endgame.
Nope.
They are not involved in Spider-Man Far From Home.
They're not in any post-credit scenes.
Yeah, you might hear a name drop, if anything. Like I said, my guess, and this is my unofficial DPH guess, is you're going to hear the name Richards get dropped at the end of Endgame.
Or that, or you might get your name dropped, or you might see it on a sheet of paper where like they talk about whoever bought Avengers Tower in New York.
Yeah, that would be the only extent. But where the franchise is going to go now, with Marvel, that is anybody's guess. We do have an idea of some projects they're going to have coming down the road.
Right.
Obviously, they're going to be doing a sequel to Black Panther. They're going to be doing a sequel to Doctor Strange. There is the long-awaited Black Widow solo movie that's going to be coming, and we don't know the time period that's going to be set in, so I don't have any information on that. Shang-Chi is going to be coming as a feature film, which I'm very excited to see.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what they do with that. And the Eternals.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I've picked up from, obviously the various sources that are kind of talking about that already. Honestly, after that is going to be kind of fair game.
Well, I think it's going to be one of those things where they're going to give them a proper introduction. They're not going to Spider-Man it and just say, "Hey, they're here." I think they'll give them a proper introduction. I think in regards to the X-Men, they'll do something involving the Eternals movie. What that would be, I don't know. I think in terms of Fantastic Four, that one they might do a "Hey, they're already here" type of thing, or they might do a full-fledged intro and just, "Hey, we bought the Avengers Tower because hey, we need a place to work," and then they go off into space and get the powers. I think in regards to there are a couple things though that I think are like ready-made, already set to introduce. One being Doctor Doom. I think Doctor Doom is probably the easiest thing for them to insert into the MCU as it stands right now, because you think back to Sokovia and how a literal country, I can't remember if it was just the town or the country, but literal part of a country, or if not the whole country, got picked up and dropped back onto the Earth. We haven't heard anything about Sokovia since Avengers Age of Ultron, and kind of getting mentioned in Civil War, so it can be very easily written that, hey, they kind of got forgotten and left by the wayside and left to their own devices. And hey, in steps this billionaire philanthropist who's got a lot of money and willing to help them out, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That can be Doctor Doom. I think in terms of Storm, you can easily introduce Storm in Black Panther 2.
Possibly. I mean, how they're going to introduce the characters is anybody's guess.
Yeah.
I think with Doom, though, they're going to wait till Fantastic Four.
Probably.
They could. You might see Doom come up because he could be, I think the take they're going to do is he's not going to be a billionaire philanthropist.
Right.
He's going to be somebody that was in town.
Sure.
That obviously has worked his way up and from out of nothing into taking over and being the monarch of the newly named Latveria.
Yeah.
I see that happening.
I'll say there was also probably a lot of weird techie stuff that got left around that can give him his powers.
Right. There's just so many ways that if they want to just skip a traditional, origin movie, they can definitely do. And who knows what they're going to do. I mean, I have not heard any script ideas for any of the sequels yet. I haven't heard for any of the next wave. The only guess I have is Black Widow is going to be set before Avengers.
Probably.
That's my only guess that I've heard. But like I said, I haven't heard anything official.
Right. So, no, I mean, people are fan casting, and that's to be expected. But outside of that, there has really been nothing firm.
No, I mean, the only Marvel news that we have heard that also made some waves this past week was James Gunn was re-added to the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 as director.
Yep.
So, obviously, if you knew about what happened, he was let go over San Diego Comic-Con weekend last year due to controversial tweets he had.
Yeah.
And they have not really said anything since. Obviously, the cast is involved with Guardians was very vocal that they wanted him back.
Or subtly vocal.
Depending on who the cast member is, if you want to say Dave Bautista or Chris Pratt. Either way, Disney put their foot down and said, no, he wasn't coming back. They didn't have anybody else named to take over the franchise, and then really it was kind of announced earlier a couple weeks ago that they were going to be using the script that Gunn had wrote for Guardians 3. And then this week they have announced that, or over the past week here, they've announced that Gunn is coming back to Guardians. And this is on the heels of him signing to take over DC Comics' Suicide Squad franchise and doing a full reboot of the Suicide Squad, which the movie is going to be called The Suicide Squad. And there's a whole new cast of characters involved. In this one, the Suicide Squad I'm referring to, we don't know the direction they're going to go in because this is now not going to be tied into a shared universe as it stands right now. It could be, depending on how they want to write it in. They've had to do a couple recastings, as we've talked about on the show before, with Idris Elba taking over the role of Deadshot from Will Smith. We're assuming Margot Robbie is going to be coming back playing Harley Quinn on that movie. We don't know for sure.
I'll say everyone kind of figured she'd be coming back for Suicide Squad, James Gunn's version, but then they kind of threw the monkey wrench in that it's going to be a full reboot. So maybe, who knows?
Right. And as it stands, Gunn is going to be working the Suicide Squad movie first. So Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is not going to be in any phase as of anytime soon, rather, should I say. So that happened there. I don't really have a take on that.
I mean, I'm not surprised James Gunn fully came back because there were rumblings and there were kind of whispers that they were talking to other directors and they had conversations with them supposedly, but nothing firm ever came out that, like, because I know the director of Thor 3, his name got thrown out there that, you know, they were talking to him about possibly doing it, but then nothing ever came from it. And that was like about the only name I ever read in some of the trades and sources that I know, you know, of possibly directing, you know, Guardians 3. And even he tweeted out on his Twitter account, Taika Waititi, the day the news came out, quote, "What the hell? I thought I was going to do it."
Yeah, he had some fun with it. And obviously Disney has decided to give Gunn another chance to do the movie and finish it out.
Right, and the decision, I should note, came from Alan Horn, who is the one of the heads at Disney. So this isn't like Kevin Feige, you know, had a conversation with. No, this is Alan Horn, who is the chairman of the Walt Disney Studios and has been since 2012. I guess, you know, they've been having conversations over the last couple of weeks, if not a couple of months, and, you know, he kind of looked back and goes, all right, you know what, let's give you another chance.
Right, and that's their choice to do.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't really have a strong take on this either way. I guess my feeling about this would be, okay, if you're going to use his script, you have to let him direct.
Right.
You can't use his script and then have somebody else jump in and take over and try envisioning what he wanted to do for the movie.
And that's the thing is, like I said, you know, Taika Waititi, you know, was the only name rumored to have been approached about the film. Nobody else was approached by this. And typically, if you see it more than just one name getting thrown out there or mentioned to be directing a film. So I kind of had my doubts of, like, are they really going to do anything with it, or are they just going to let it go and sit there?
Well, I don't think they're going to try letting it go. I think the franchise is too successful.
Yeah.
That this is just very interesting that Disney decided to backtrack on what they originally had planned.
Right.
Which, that's their prerogative to do. I like I said, I don't really have a take either way. I understood why they let him go in the first place.
Right.
And that's how they felt, and that's how they felt.
Yeah.
And if they want to bring him back, then that's their choice. If you're going to use a script, you have to bring him back.
Yeah.
And then after this, I imagine that he's going to be done with Marvel.
Right.
That I think that this is the last time he's going to be working with them. That would be my guess.
It could be.
It's just my strictly guess. And like I said, I think he's going to go over to DC and do his franchise over there with Warner Brothers, and wherever it goes from there, goes from there. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be interesting to see. And another interesting thing that's going to be happening with DC.
Let's say, speaking of interesting,
if this happens,
that's a strong, bold, italicized, underlined, you know, biggest font you can make it. If
right, because not all the movie news this week was Marvel.
No,
DC had some news. Pad, you want to break it down?
Yeah, so it came out the other day, you know, about 3-4 days ago as we record, that, you know, the on again, off again, on again, off again Flash movie, that I think we thought was dead in the water and not going to happen, got a little bit of life breathed into it. In the form of Ezra Miller. Yes, the Flash himself in the film universe, Ezra Miller, is going to be teaming up with Grant Morrison to write the script for the Flash movie. You know, and this is just all sorts of weird because I can't think of the last time for a comic movie that, like, the star of the movie wrote the darn thing, and there's no guarantee they're going to use it.
Yeah, this is wild to me. That, I mean, kudos to Miller for being that committed to the role.
Right.
But
I think it's a last-ditch effort to hold, because you look at what they're doing where Ben Affleck is gone, Henry Cavill is gone. You know, the gentleman who played Cyborg in the movie, to our knowledge, is gone. Mm-hmm. You know, anyone who's not at this point Gal Gadot, Margot Robbie, or Jason Momoa is fair game. And I think he genuinely enjoys playing the role. Otherwise, I don't think he'd be campaigning this hard to keep onto the role. I applaud him for it, because you know, some actors would probably just, you know, hey, we're moving in a different direction. We're not going to have you as the role anymore. Oh, okay. Hey, thanks for the opportunity. But he's fighting tooth and nail to hold on to it. So I applaud him for it.
I applaud him, but I don't think it's going to work.
Right.
In my opinion, I don't see them doing... If the movie was originally going to be Flashpoint, Flashpoint's very dark, if memory serves me right.
Right.
If they want to go that route, I don't think I don't think they want to, because I think that's too close to the vision of the DCEU / Worlds of DC universe that's already been established. And the vibe I get is that the producers were not really too excited to go down that road again.
Right. And the things I've kind of read, in some sources and some spots on the internet, and you can find them, was that there was a script done and written for this, and they kind of showed it to Ezra Miller, and he didn't like the tone of the film. He felt it should be darker, which you look at DC's run of darker tone films and how they've been received, not the smartest move, in my opinion. You can go a little dark, but, don't go full dark and brooding. He turned around and said, hey, why don't you give me an opportunity? I'll write the script and you can use it. And they to my understanding, they're giving him the opportunity, but they're not guaranteeing they're going to use it. They're saying, okay, you can write it. We'll look at it. And if we use it, we will, but we're not guaranteeing we're going to use it. And this is going to go one of two ways. A, they're going to deliver an incredible script. WB is going to take it over the director's version, which is going to make the director leave. And they're going to have to look for another director. Yeah. Which is going to be all sorts of messy. And you're going to find out about that real quick. Or the other way it's going to go is they're going to turn around and go, hey, you know what? It's not exactly the script we want. We're going to go in another direction. And he's going to, all right, well, hey, you know what? Bye.
What I see playing out, and I agree with you, Pat. I fully agree with you about your take. You take a look at Aquaman, which was not a dark movie at all. It was a fun action movie. Did very well. Wonder Woman was definitely not the same vein of Batman vs. Superman. Right. I think that depending on what Shazam does, which is coming out in certain select theaters this weekend for an early preview, if that does well, which I think it will, Shazam is not a dark movie at all. No. I think Warner Brothers is going to say, do a great superhero movie, but I don't know how this version is going to go. Albeit, though, Miller did the right idea by getting Grant Morrison.
Oh, I'm not faulting him for bringing on Grant Morrison at all. I think bringing on a comic book writer to write a comic book movie is a brilliant idea. Yeah. It's to my knowledge, it's original. I don't think it's ever been done, to this point. But I would like to see a comic book writer write a comic book movie. Jim Lee,
Well, Jim's an artist, so Jim would, but he'd assist with it. You'd see a Jeff Johns,
Scott Snyder, insert name here. It'd be great, but this isn't the way to do it, because to me it's almost dead on arrival.
It's a very interesting perspective about this, because I can't remember a time an actor has sought out a comic book writer and said, team up with me and let's save this movie, wherever the vision's going to be. I mean, I have heard about comic book writers collaborating and getting involved with it. So sometimes it's very hit or miss. It just depends on there's so many parts involved with a movie. Right. That unless you're fully on board with a director, whatever you write on the script, I mean, how it comes from script to film, it's a whole different process.
I'll say this is a no-win situation for the movie either way it goes. Either A, they take Ezra Miller and Grant Morrison's script and the director walks, and then you got to find another director, and what director is going to want to walk into that mess willingly?
They must already have somebody in mind.
They'd have to.
You'd have to. If you're going to completely rewrite everything, because like I said, the earliest thing that I heard about the movie from different sources that I've read is they were going to do the Flashpoint Paradox.
That was the original thing. Whether they're doing that now or not, who's to say? Who the heck knows? But then the other outcome of this is that, they don't go with his script. They go with the director's script. Ezra Miller walks, and then they got to find another Flash, which I guarantee you they've got a list of people that they want to do it, and it'll just take a phone call and they'll get them.
Oh, I'm sure. This is going to be just very interesting to watch. And where it goes from here, I mean, stay tuned, because
I can't wait for the book written about all this backroom stuff, because that's going to be coming in the next couple decades, and it's going to be must-read material.
Oh, that's going to be such a must-read. Just with everything that's going on with Marvel and DC.
Somebody's going to do a tell-all.
Yeah, and that's going to be just probably the biggest book of the year when that drops. Yeah. But we've given you a lot of movie news going on with Marvel and DC. What's your take on both? Hit us up on that hashtag ODPH. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Johnny Moose from Excite Wrestling, and you're listening to the ODPH. I didn't mess it up. I thought I would. Right now, back to the guys.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got for those one-shots?
I got a couple things to mention. First of all is Star Wars Celebration is nearly upon us. It is 3 weeks away as we record. It is taking place in Chicago, Illinois, in the United States from April 11th through April 15th. Their big news should come out of there, of course. It is the biggest gathering of Star Wars fans and Star Wars news and everything Star Wars, and there is an Episode 9 panel. So if you're going to see a teaser trailer or anything involving Episode 9, my guess is it's going to be there. Other Star Wars news going on. The current running rumor that the upcoming movie series, whatever this is going to be, from David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, of course, the two gentlemen who are behind Game of Thrones on HBO. The current running rumor is that the films they are going to be doing will be set during the Old Republic era. Now, for those who are not maybe well versed in when that is very, very, very much well before the prequel movies, like Luke and Anakin, and none of them are even a thing. So it's set far back. The only thing, in recent history that's kind of been set in that era was of course, the popular Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 video games, and the current running and still ongoing online MMO, massively multiplayer online game. The Old Republic is set then out. There are a couple comics, but outside of that, really kind of untouched territory, so that'll be interesting to see what they do with that. No timeline or when it's going to come out. I guarantee you they're giving them all the time they need to develop this and flesh it out, because track record shows they make great stuff. Other interesting thing came from PC Gamers, where an unexpected company has been arisen from the grave, given its second life. Lucasfilm Games has been unexpectedly resurrected by Disney. Now, if the name doesn't quite ring a bell, that's because Lucasfilm Games, way back in the day, eventually turned into Lucas Arts, which is, of course, the publisher who used to make all the Star Wars games back in the day, from the original Battlefront to Empire at War to Rogue Squadron to, I could just go on. There's an entire long list of that. So they're hiring, and it's not just, oh, hey, we need you to do side stuff. No, there was a screen cap from somebody's LinkedIn where they were looking for a senior technical artist, a senior manager, engineering, producer, community manager, lead game developer. So this sounds like this isn't just going to be, oh, we're going to create a company to kind of oversee the video games and kind of manage those. No, it sounds like they're going to be actually making video games. So what comes out of this? Who's to say? But I'm very interested to see where this goes.
There's a lot happening there. I mean, the fact they brought that company back.
Yeah, when it shut down, much to everyone's and including my disappointment back in 2013, because they made a lot of great games. Some of them were hit or miss, but that Battlefront 2, the original Battlefront 2 to this day, is one of my favorite games of all time.
Hey, this is some exciting news, and I'm more excited if the Game of Thrones showrunners are actually doing that Old Republic show.
Yeah.
Or movie, is it?
I think it's a movie.
Whatever the case is, we know we're counting down the days for the new season of Game of Thrones in the final season.
Yep.
Which I believe we're 3 weeks away, if I'm doing my math right. So I expect us to go fully heavy on Game of Thrones when the season starts up too. But there's so much news coming out with Star Wars there. Yeah. It's like, I know, I lose track now, especially with everything going on with Disney Plus. It's like, you don't know. I just hope they do Boba Fett right, and that's all I need to say about that.
There you go.
So for my one-shots, Deadly Class is having their season finale tonight. 10 o'clock on Sci-Fi, Eastern Standard Time Zone, wherever you watch. Definitely check it out. I am hoping we have a renewal announced tonight, too, for Season 2. It has not happened yet. I imagine it will. The show is so good. I could rant and rave about it. I don't want to even spoil it. I'm super excited about the show and where it goes. It's so faithful to the comic, and that's what I love about it. And especially from everything from the music to the show to just how they keep it just so 1980s. And the flashback sequence, which involves the comic animation, is so top shelf. I can rant and rave about it all the time. But tonight is the season finale. Get on your Twitter, get on social media, and definitely hashtag renew Deadly Class. Needs to start happening tonight. And I'll be live tweeting during the show too, so it should be a fun time. And for my last one shot, there was some comic news announced that Jonathan Hickman is coming back to Marvel after he's been gone for a while. Now, if you know his legendary runs writing Fantastic Four and Avengers. They have not officially announced what he's coming back and writing.
Right.
But in the kind of font that they've written that Hickman is returning, and there's supposed to be an announcement this weekend at C2E2.
In Chicago.
Right. The font kind of looks like a teaser that they did with the X-Men, because there is this X-Men lowercase font. It looks like it was done on a typewriter, and it says, quote, "When two aggressive species share the same environment, evolution demands adaptation or dominance." End quote. So I am guessing, if I have to make my unofficial ODPH guess, he's taking over X-Men.
That's kind of what I'm gathering based off of the little tease they gave us.
Yes. I don't think he's going to be doing Eternals, even though I fully predict when the movie starts ramping up some steam and promotion. And
well, I mean, you're already starting to see little hints and teases.
Right, but you're going to see a full-on comic push at Marvel.
Yeah.
And you're going to see them get, I don't want to say the Inhumans treatment, but you're going to see the top-notch talent going on to the Eternals book and go from there.
Right.
But if Hickman is taking over X-Men, I can't wait. He is so epic in building his stories to, like, we're talking years of just slow burn details of the drama. Then when you get those payoffs, it'll absolutely blow your mind. And if you want to take a look at his most recent stuff, his whole Avengers saga led right up to Secret Wars.
Yep.
And how amazing that payoff was.
Yeah.
Like I said, you can read his Fantastic Four, you can read his Avengers and Secret Wars. As a standalone, like I could just go on, and I cannot wait to see if he is doing X-Men, because if he's doing X-Men, get ready. It's going to be must read.
It's going to be a wild ride.
It's going to be a must read. That's all we got for this week. So for Padawan J,
thank you.
I'm your host, Ken M. Thank you, as always, for listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, #ODPH podcast. We'll see you next time.